Can you believe it? Orange is out.
I know. So it's a good day. As soon as, like, just before we started this recording, we found out that Kamala is going to be vice president.
Yeah.
Joining me on the channel today is Deanna Pinguicha, author of A Curse of Roses, out December 1st from Entangled Teen. It is a YA queer retelling of a Portuguese legend. Welcome, Deanna.
Hi, Carly. Thank you for having me. I
Deanna,
love being here on your channel.
I know. Deanna's been on the channel a whole lot. We go way back. We connected right when we were first in the process of switching agents. And so we were like re-queering and we swapped manuscripts because we both had very gay, historical YA manuscripts. And yeah, and then we've been chatting ever since.
And then we got deals like in the same week.
I know, and it all worked out.
It was amazing.
Yeah, we got our books got like offers like this at the same time. It was amazing, like a synchronicity happening there. So I want to start at the beginning of your journey, and I always like to kind of go into your past. So tell us about your childhood. What kind of kid were you?
Oh my God. I was like really an introvert. That all I wanted to do was like stay at home and read and play video games and be left alone. And my mom always made me like, go out, make friends, like, but I don't wanna, they don't like the same things I do.
So the kids at school were not maybe as bookish as you were?
They were not, and I was like bullied for it because I just wanted to sit in my corner and be quiet, which is apparently a sin in my hometown. Oh yeah, and I was apparently because they thought I was, what's the exact word? Not nice, because I didn't talk to people.
Oh, they thought you were rude. Yeah.
I thought I would. Yeah, a lot of people think I'm rude because I don't talk to people when I find like in the street. Like I'm polite to people, but that's my training. I train myself to do that because otherwise I'm just very quiet in the corner unless I know someone. And I just keep to myself.
Yeah, I got accused of that as a kid too. I got accused of being snobby and rude because I wouldn't talk. Well, one, I was very shy, and so I wouldn't talk to people. And so I'm curious about Portuguese culture, because in like American culture, generally, like if you're walking down the street, you don't say hi to people. It's a little bit weird. Like in California, it's a little bit more, you say hi to people. But how is it in Portugal? Is it like a little bit more friendly?
I don't say hi to strangers in the street.
Okay.
Like I will say maybe like good morning or something if I sit next to them on the bus. But we don't say hi to strangers. But in my hometown, you're supposed to say hi to everyone because everyone knows everyone. And I often lost, so I went like 2 years without glasses because my mom didn't believe that I was nearsighted. So I wouldn't recognize people. And people would be very offended when I walked by them and said nothing. I didn't see you.
Yeah.
I didn't see you literally, and no one believed me.
Oh, no.
And more of that rude.
I've been doing that with people wearing masks lately. Like like I don't recognize them because half their face is covered. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. I just didn't know who you were. So what kind of books did you like to read as a kid?
I always loved fantasy. Like,
were there any particular authors that you've liked?
So let me think on it, because it was hard growing up in Portugal in the 90s in terms of a fantasy reader. There was not a lot to read, especially in my hometown. So I was like reading comic books until 4th grade, like the Disney ones, like DuckTales and such, until Harry Potter came out. And that was like 10 or 11. And then I just loved that, but that's been ruined. But at the time, it was just completely changed my world.
Yes.
And then, because again, small town, and Portugal is not big on fantasy, had to go straight to Lord of the Rings at 11.
That's a heavy read.
But I loved it.
Okay,
It
at
had
11,
magic.
you were able to get through it because
I
I
was
couldn't get through it. Okay.
I was able to get through it. I had literally nothing else that I
Yeah.
enjoyed. And then when was it? It was like in 7th grade. We started getting uh, more books because I was in a small town. But my mom would take me to Lisbon, and then this big bookstore opened at the mall, and I would come out with like 10 or 15 books each time because it was in Lisbon. We only went there when we went to see my nana in Sintra. And so I would come out. I read Urtzi by Ursula Guan, yeah, and a lot of Holes by
Holes,
Louise. Yeah, I love that book.
Holes is
But
great.
they translated the title as The Thumb of God because of the mountain.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was a religious book. And at the time, little baby atheist me didn't want to read a book about the influence of God because my mom was insisting that I didn't know what I was saying.
Mhm.
And I think she mistakenly bought the book thinking it was going to be about that. But then it wasn't. And I really loved that one. And yeah, then we were like waiting for Harry Potter for years and years. And that's when I found Juliette Marillier, who is still one of my favorite writers to this day. I've read everything by her.
Very cool. And how did you go from being a reader to wanting to write your own stuff?
Well, people convinced me because I've been lucky with the teachers that I've had for languages. And my teacher in proficiency in English, Harry, was like, no, you wrote this short story. This is like amazing. And you're that young. You should look into creative writing for college. I'm like, but I'm in engineering and I need to finish it.
Wow, so you're majoring in engineering. That's hard.
I majored. I finished it. I majored in computer engineering.
That's hard. That's not easy stuff.
But we, at the time, we did go looking to see if I could go study abroad to England, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so prohibitively expensive that I just stuck to engineering and I just wrote for practice. Because I knew I wanted to write video games,
Mm-hmm.
but it's harder to break into video games. And when I talked to some video game writers like Jillian, she said the best way is to publish a book first.
Mm.
Like, well, so that's happening now. So I started like when I was 23, just trying to write books that were publishable, see if I could make it.
But English is a second language for you, right?
Yep.
What age were you when you started learning English?
So I had like those very basic classes in 3rd and 4th grade where it was pretty much like, hi, my name is Diana. This is Olá, meu nome é Diana, for instance. But like proper English, it was in 5th grade. So I was 10.
Wow.
And then between 6th and 7th grade, I got a Nintendo 64 and I got my hands on Zelda on Ocarina of Time. And I loved it so much. But I didn't know what the hell was going on or what I was supposed to do because I didn't understand most of the words.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got my dictionary.
Oh, wow.
And I would I don't know this word. I would look it up and I would write it down on a reference sheet, especially if I knew it showed up a lot. And I would read that before bed. And then at 13, I discovered fanfic
Mm-hmm.
online because that's the age we finally got internet and
Yeah.
the computer. So there I was reading fanfic. I was like, oh, this is fun. Maybe I should try writing it. And I had a friend say, it doesn't matter if you make a lot of grammar mistakes. And I did. I did not know, like, what's a verb in the past tense? You only learned that in 7th grade. This was 6th, like between them. So yeah, it was like through practice, I just improved. And then I met a group of online friends also around that age on the Tomb Raider fandom. And just talking to them in English basically every day just helped me. And by the time I hit like 8th grade, I was fluent.
Oh, that's amazing. So you learned English basically from Ocarina of Time and fanfic. I love it. And that's the thing, the difference between like the United States and Portugal is like here it's kind of optional to learn a second language. Like you kind of have to take 2 years of a second language in high school. So like most people choose either Spanish or French. So, but in Portugal, like it's kind of part of the curriculum.
It's part of it, yeah. They start younger now because I taught English to 3rd and 4th grade, like proper English,
and is English required, or can you just take any?
No, it's English.
Oh, really?
It's English now. At my time, you could choose in 5th grade English or Spanish or French, but we all chose English. And then you had to choose another language in 7th grade, and I chose French, which is why I can still read and understand them. I just can't speak it or write it for the life of me.
So kids in Portugal can usually like understand like 3 languages.
2 at most, most of them. But you in school, you learn 3, like Portuguese, obviously, and then English and another one. Most that go Spanish now, but my school didn't have Spanish, which is a shame because I understand Spanish fine, but I can't speak or write it.
Yeah.
I speak a very weird Portuguese, and I only know as much Spanish as I do because I grew up near the border. And half of the cartoons were like in Spanish stations, and Spain had better anime.
Yeah. And so when did you, well, actually, let's do this. Tell us about the day that you found out your book was going to be published.
Oh, I was in Mora, where half of the book takes place. And I got the email, and I was just like, huh. So
what
that's
did the
happening.
Email say?
What
did the email say?
They said that they had taken it to acquisitions and they were gonna offer to publish it in print. And then I was just like, oh my God. And people said I wasn't gonna be able to do this in your face. And then we had like mini party. I had wine that day.
That's awesome. And it was
Sushi was scared. Like I screamed so loud that my cat was just like.
It was a long journey for you. Because you had an agent before, and like me, you were on sub, and
I was on sub, querying, but this book never went out to editors.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And
because I didn't have an agent, I could not find rep for the life of me. So I spent like, I think it was over 6 months querying, and I had a lot of requests, but they all came back as rejections. And as you know, some of them were just ableist.
Yeah, it just goes to show that like when you get rejections from the querying stage, it's not because your book is not good. It's like, it comes down to weird personal, like making that connection with like the right person. And in your case, you found that connection with your publisher, and you got 2 public offers.
I got 2 publication offers. Yeah. Like literally Entangled offered, and I nudged 9-star, but 9-star wasn't replying. And I was like, so I guess it's a pass. And the day after I signed with Entangled, 9-star offered to publish the book. And I was like, well. And
then you got your audio deal, and that was successful at auction, right?
Yeah.
So what's a misconception that you had about publishing prior to being published that has now changed?
I mean, I knew authors didn't have say in much, but now I know we don't have a say in a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny when you hear when people come to you and say like, "Are you designing your cover?" And I'm like,
"Oh yeah." They offered actually for me, but I know my strengths, and the designer I am not. I paint faces as a hobby because I enjoy it. So a cover from me, just me, would not be a good idea.
So pitch your book. Tell us about it in your own words.
So, I was going to say a miracle. See, A Curse of Roses is a retelling of one of the miracles of roses. There are several, including one in Hungary, which was done by Isabel's, my main character's great aunt. she was named after her. And this is the version that's told about in my hometown. And I decided to take that, like a little bit of Christian lore, and sprinkle gay glitter all over it to piss them off, because my hometown's really homophobic. So in my book, you follow Isabel, who's a very nice, kind person, but also incredibly stubborn and refuses to listen, as you know, people sometimes are, like me. And everything she touches turns to flowers, so she can't really eat because her tongue counts as touching, and food touches her tongue and poof, there's a rose or a narcissus or whatever. So she thinks it's a curse and she hates it. So finally, after her being desperate and on the verge of death, because she's basically starving herself out of stubbornness, her lady's maid British convinces her to find an enchanted Mora who's like supposed to know all about magic. And coincidence, they're also in Mora, where she's supposed to be. And so Isabel goes seek out Fatian, who is trapped inside the stone. And then they enter into a bargain where Fatian will teach her magic, and Isabel will like free Fatian from her enchantment. And then that's where the story starts, really. Nice. The romance, the yearning, the confusion, the pent-up Catholic guilt, the internalized homophobia we all grew up with. So that's my thing with Isabel. I wanted her to learn that all these things were fine and all she needed was to accept herself.
And what's your favorite step, drafting or revising?
I don't know. I like them both and hate them both in equal measure. Because with drafting, there's a lot of frustration and back and forth, but also with revising, there's a lot of frustration and back and forth. But at least with revising, I suppose you already have something you can work with. And the draft, it's just mess.
So what do you think of those authors who, just because you're complaining about both stages, so I feel like I should comment on this. What do you think of those authors who seem to hate writing? like
what are you doing here if you hate writing?
They're on Twitter like complaining about how painful being an author is and how writing is like torture. And
I mean, that's because maybe you're not writing the book you want. Maybe you're just bored. I don't know. I always, if I'm writing my own stuff and it's stuff I enjoy writing, I always have fun, ultimately. Even though it can be frustrating when you want to figure something out and can't. That's why, that happens in both parts of the process. As you know, Carly, when you read the first draft of A Curse of Roses, I could not figure out the middle. I wrote a middle. It was not good. It was very meandering. I didn't know what I wanted to happen. And then Carly suggested something. I was like, wait, that would work.
I suggested helpful things. What did I suggest?
You suggested a ritual.
Oh, like to cure her.
And then being found out and locked up in the room. And I took that and I ran with it because Dennis would do what he did.
Oh, cool. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Because in the end, I was just like, it was a lot of repetition with Isabel just practicing the magic, and it needed something to kickstart it into motion.
Very cool.
So yeah, you'll have to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to
read it. It comes out how it changed, yeah. So I know Reckless Kind didn't change a lot, but I'm looking forward to rereading it anyway.
No, it did.
It did?
Yeah, there's some, the overall structure is the same. I added this subplot per my editor's suggestion that actually involved copying and pasting something from the 2015 version of my manuscript into chapter 2, so into Erland's chapter. And then that kind of kicks off the subplot. And you'll have to read it. I love it because...
Yes. I want to reread it again because I love that. It's like my furious texting at Carly. Oh. What? You keep breaking my heart. And then when it's slowly being stitched together, you come along and you tear the stitches again. But in the end, it's whole. It's whole again.
Yeah. Awesome. I can't wait for you to read it. It's fun. how would you describe yourself? Do you have a huge ego, or are you humble and demure?
I don't know how to take a compliment, honestly. I don't have an ego. I have some confidence in my skill, but I'm not like, people say you write so well, and I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not like Trump. You're not like,
No, definitely
I'm the
not.
best
I
writer.
also cannot lie to save my own skin. I just lack that social skill. So I'm very blunt. Like if I would like, this happened like at the book fair.
Mhm.
My in Portugal we have like this tradition where you have like a godmother in college, a big sister,
Mhm.
a big brother. And I'm still very close with mine. We bonded over books, and I introduced her to Juliet Marillier, and then she started a blog and became like a national recognition. And she's in the US now because she has a PhD in also in computer engineering, but she's in bioengineering. It's really cool stuff. And oh my God, where was I? What was the question about?
You're very blunt.
I'm very blunt, yeah. And so we were at the book fair, and there's like this well-known thriller author, and she's talking to him, and she's like, "Oh, and this is my, college little sisters." And I'm like, "Hi, I have read none of your books because I don't like thrillers."
Oh no.
And it was like awkward silence. And then Sophie was like, "She's just very blunt, but she doesn't mean anything by this."
Are you a morning writer or an evening writer?
Evening.
Interesting.
Evening. I'm a night owl, and I have, the executive dysfunction part where you keep putting it back. I find that if the sun has set and it's like, oh my God, it's 5 p.m., I need to write right now. And by the time I realize it, I do like tiny sprints.
Mm.
And then I stop, and then I do more tiny sprints, just like 100-word sprints, and then I stop for a bit, and then another 100 words, and then I wrote like 500 or 1,000.
Oh.
I did nano yesterday in like an hour.
Oh my gosh, good for you. Yeah, I
Somehow I've been keeping up this year.
Deal with the pressure of nano. So since you are an evening writer, and this is actually rare because I don't think I've had an evening writer on the channel before. Do you know what time of day you were born? Were you born in the?
I do. I was born at 8:45 p.m.
You were born at night.
Yep.
So that actually makes me think.
Breaks the cycle.
That evening writers were born at night.
Yeah.
I think. So are you a perfectionist or a chaos artist?
Chaos artist, completely. In the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a chaos artist, but toward the end, when I see it all come together, then I become a real perfectionist. And everything needs to be good. And I'm still like sometimes with a curse of roses thinking I could have done this better.
Yeah.
Goddamn deadlines.
I know. Yeah, I keep on looking at mine too, and I'm like, oh.
And needing to like put the book out so you can make a living.
Yes. And are you a plotter or a pantser?
Both.
That makes
sense.
I
always start with an outline,
mm-hmm.
at least, because I need to know the main character's arc before I start, because otherwise it's just pointless. And I'm not good. Like some people like slice of life, but that's what it ends up becoming when I don't have a plot line, and then I just throw that all out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I start with an outline, and then halfway through, most of the time, I find out that the outline is not working for some reason. Because what looks good in like little outline format sometimes does not transcribe to paper or Word in my case. And then I end up checking the outline out and just improvising. And then sometimes I go back to the outline because it's just a little part that wasn't working, and then I find ways. Because with a chord, it was the middle. The beginning and the ending were fine. The ending is still the same mostly.
Mm-hmm. But the middle, you end up like having to tweak as you go along.
Yeah, sometimes the chess game does not come along as you expect. The characters get a life of their own, and they don't want to do the things you planned that they would do.
Exactly. But that's when you know that it's working and that the characters are speaking, which leads to my next question. Do you start with the character first, or do you start with the plot first?
I always start, I need to know the main character before I even start, so I can know how they'll react to the
Mhm.
plot. So they always, and with Isabel, it was different because I was going off history.
Mhm.
So I knew that she was going to be like overwhelmingly good to the point of her own self detriment. And
Mhm.
it annoyed me at times. Like, girl, just be selfish for once. But she was like, no, I am a literal saint. And yeah, so, but I knew that she was going to be that way. She was going to be stubborn because she was very stubborn.
Mhm.
I mean, she defied her husband to feed poor people against his will. And she was also kind of brave and kind of impulsive because who defies their husband by going out of town and be like, bread in her skirts, I'm never going to be found out? Of course she was going to be found out.
Yeah, I like it. Was there a revision suggestion that you got along the way that was extremely helpful for you?
Helpful, how so?
Or what revision suggestion did you get that like was most uh, inspiring to you, helpful for you, maybe something that you'll use in the future?
Oh, as in a technique.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when I was at Highlights and I was
Mhm.
doing the writing the Unreal, which if you can apply, they're very generous with scholarships.
Oh,
That's
cool.
why I went.
Cool.
But I got to be mentored by Laura Ruby, and
Oh,
she told
wow.
me, yeah,
I didn't know that. That's
it was
amazing.
amazing. Are you kidding me? And Highlights was perfect in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, which
Uh,
thank you, Pennsylvania.
yes. Yeah. Pennsylvania just like
So
saved us
we are
from
waiting for
fascism.
Nevada. I know at the time this will air, but we're all waiting for Nevada, and Pennsylvania was like, we came.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the food is all inclusive and the booze is all inclusive.
Oh, awesome.
And it's a really nice space. And we went out for walks and we saw little cows that I loved.
Oh.
And there was a puppy in the neighboring farm that came over called Molly. And
Oh.
Daisy was really cute. She was a Basset hound. Anyway, when we were there, idyllic place, idyllic food, idyllic people. And Lara was like, do the revision in stages. And I was like, what do you mean? You don't have to do it all at once? Like, no, you do passes. You do one pass for this thing, you do one pass for that thing, and then that's it. I was like, oh, huh,
That,
wait,
that's
that makes sense.
like so you do a pass for character and you do a pass for plot.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, if you need to change multiple plot points, you do a pass for one and see the overarching thing of it, and then do the pass for the other and do the overarching thing of it, and do it by stages. Like, now I need to change how Isabel does this. And you follow that through, and then you go back and do the other thing.
And I did not know that you were mentored by Laura Ruby. That is amazing. So tell us about like working with Laura. Like, what was it like? What was she like? What?
Lara's amazing.
Yeah.
She's incredibly intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't tell you to do this. She asks you things and gives you suggestions that only you can answer for yourself, because she's not like the kind of mentor who says, you need to do this and that for your story to be better. No, she talks to you about it and why do you make certain decisions and etc. And that ends up making it a lot clearer.
Yeah.
And then we all did exercises about like write your novel in a picture book format. That was amazing. And write your main character's protagonist song for a Disney movie.
Oh.
I remember mine was called Curses at My Fingertips. And then I had it planned in the reprise that comes up after she masters. It's miracles at her fingertips.
Nice. I
But
like
yeah,
that.
so it was Laura was my main mentor, but we had classes with her, with Anne Ursu and Christine Heffernan.
Very cool. That sounds like an awesome group.
It was really good. I really recommend people, like, if they can, go there
And what
and
is
to
that
that
again? The
workshop.
highlights?
It's at Highlights Foundation.
Okay.
And the funniest thing is, so we also met Debbie Kovac. She works at Walden Pond.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend, the whole wide world, Dana, was from Alaska, but is now in Minneapolis to do the MFA in creative writing for children's lit.
Mm-hmm.
She's now being mentored by Anne Ursu. Is
That's
probably
awesome.
gonna work with Debbie. So it was like small world. Because I kid you not, all the time I was at highlights, I was like, my best friend Dana. We did this and we did that. And I love her so much. And then they got to work with her too.
That's yeah, the writing community is a small world. It seems like everyone ends up meeting each other at some point. Would you ever like to be famous?
I would like to be the kind of famous person who gets to live in the middle of nowhere and not be bothered. I want the money so I can just retire to a mountain in Sintra in my huge mansion with my cats and my rescue farm animals.
Nice.
Because it will have like a big farm area. I've idealized this.
Yes.
Or I need to be famous so Sushi gets her rightful fame. That's my cat, who is not here.
Aw.
But she demands that the world know her. That's it. I'm just her prop to fame. I'm her stepping stone. Let's not kid ourselves here. The real star in this house is my cat.
Aw.
She's the one who whispers ideas in my head while I'm asleep. She's the author of the book. It's not me. I've just been...
That makes a lot of sense, and that would also be a really good plot where...
Why do you think she wrote a dog so people would not be suspicious?
Yeah.
That's why there's Lucas, and Lucas is not a cat. Because she was like, if I do a cat, it will be too obvious that I'm pulling the strings here. Lucas was supposed to be a lynx, but then I thought, you know what? Too much magic is already happening. Let's not throw domesticating wild animals into the mix. Maybe for a later book.
This is cueing a really interesting plot idea in my head where a famous author has this cat, and the cat is the one who is providing all of the plot ideas, and then the cat goes missing. So, or the cat gets stolen, or the cat hitches a ride in, this is happens where the cat hops in the UPS driver's car, right, and then goes off, and then the author has to find their cat so that they can, not only because they love their cat, but so that they can write their next book. Anyway, that free idea for anyone.
That would be a cute middle grade.
Yeah, right. And or as if it was a middle grade, it would be a kid, and the cat is the one who helps them write their essay.
It's very Ratatouille, but
for school, right? And then their cat goes missing, and so they need to find the cat before their deadline for their assignment. And
in the end, they realize it was never the cat at all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if you could have any non-supernatural talent or ability, what would it be?
Non-supernatural. If it was supernatural, it would be easy because it'd be flight. Because I'm scared of planes, and I could just fly over literally to the US. I would like to not wear glasses.
Yes.
I would like my good eyesight that I had at 4 years old, I suppose, to be back.
Yes.
Because look, I actually have big eyes, but people don't know it. And also contacts
your face. It looks good. It's like a look. It's like a Clark Kent supernatural.
I'm currently cosplaying like Sam from Let's Play, because I also got the haircut.
Nice. Very cute. And what are you working on now?
I'm a ghost now. At the present moment, I'm doing ghostwriting to pay the bills.
Now, ghostwriting is awesome. I like the idea.
Ghostwriting romance.
You're ghostwriting romance. Awesome. Romance. How did you get into that?
A friend helped me out, because I was like, I'm gonna stop teaching in August and I need money until, I get book royalties.
Yeah.
And then my friend was like, you know what? I'll reach out to my boss. And I was like, yay. And then I got a job. And I'm just about to finish a book.
That's
But for myself, I've been like, so before I was coming here, I was like resting in my bed, and I actually solved a problem that I'm rewriting a previous book for, because my editor asked me to rewrite that one. She read the earlier draft and we needed to make some changes. Yeah.
What can you tell us a little bit about that book that you're revising?
So it was about this girl who has like, she's a scion, so she can control people's thoughts. And I think that in any fantasy where people have that power, if there's a whole group of people who have that power, they're gonna naturally overtake entire society. Because if you can control minds, like what else?
Yeah.
Like sure, some people can like control fire and water and that, but the mind above matter. See?
Yeah.
I'm doing a whole thing about that. And
Very
so
cool.
she's sent to like absorb kingdoms into the big Scion Empire, where everyone's just basically like, yeah, we think that Scion guy is not that bad, except he is. They're just being kind of controlled. Like they have like free will for day-to-day tasks, but they can never leave.
Mm.
Kind of like that. And so she's sent to like bring in a kingdom, etc. And then she meets the prince, and he thinks she's someone else, that he's his childhood friend and stuff. And then she also meets this girl who's completely bonkers. It was like my projection. And as it turns out, that girl who is completely mentally ill with all things, she's also the one who has the power to save the world. So the main character has to be like, do I keep on being a servant of evil, even though she's like being trying to break free of this? Or do I throw my lot behind this unstable person that we may need to help deal with all her anxiety?
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
So it was like a whole thing about mental illness and it's sometimes giving us superpowers. Because
Okay.
you know, my I have near photographic memory,
Mhm.
and it is a burden and a gift.
Mhm.
And so is, you know, a bunch of other stuff that I have. But like depression, being depressed is sure crap,
Mhm.
but it sometimes also teaches you empathy.
Yeah,
So it's a
definitely.
bit of a, it will be my interpretation of fantasy in mental illness as something that's not horrible.
Yeah.
It has horrible side effects, which it does, but it's not like, why can't people with anxiety and autism save the world?
Mhm.
Why?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for being on the channel. I'm going to put buy links below to A Curse of Roses and all of Deanna's social media links.
Okay,
So definitely
see?
follow her on social media and definitely check out her book. And thank you so much for being on the channel, Deanna.
Thank you for having me, Carly.